Hi guys, so ito yung first video natin sa basic accounting. So sana nabasa nyo na yung handouts na sinend ko sa inyo. So para at least medyo familiar na. So actually yun lang din yung i-discuss natin. Compilation yan sa mga libro nila Winlo Balyada, Edwin Valencia, Flosser Ong, Mercedes Kimwell, and Senaida Manuel. So if ever na meron kayong libro or aklat nung senior high school kayo ng mga sinabi kong mga authors, so pwede nyong magamit as reference. Okay, so define muna natin yung accounting. So according to Accounting Standard Council, accounting is a service activity and its function is to provide quantitative information, primarily financial in nature, about economic entities that is intended to be useful in making economic decisions. So ito yung i-memorize yung definition ng accounting. Okay? So it is a service activity. So pag sinabi natin service, so ang binibigay ni accountant ay serbisyo. So in exchange for a fee. So its function is to provide, quantitative information. So pag sinabi natin quantitative, it means measurable. So nasusukat. Okay, so measurable. To provide quantitative information, primarily financial in nature. So, pag sinabi natin financial, so syempre ang iniisip natin ay money. Okay. So, about economic activities, economic entities that is intended to be useful in making economic decisions. So pag sinabi natin entities, ito yung mga companies. Okay. So, yung definition ng accounting is a service activity and its function is to provide quantitative information, so primarily financial in nature, about economic entities that is intended to be useful in making economic decisions. Another definition of accounting from American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. So, accounting is the art of recording, classifying, and summarizing in a significant manner and in terms of money, transactions, and events which are in part at least of a financial character, and interpreting the results thereof. So, andun lang din naman sa definition natin na una, yung definition ni AICPA o yung American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Then, so according to American Accounting Association, so accounting is the process of identifying, measuring, and communicating economic information to permit judgments and decisions by users of the information. So nandito lang din yung definition na yun. And so yung kadalasan na nadidinig nyo na definition ng accounting, it is the language of business. Kasi it measures business transactions, processes that information into reports, and communicates the results to decision makers. So, kaya pwedeng i-memorize na lang kahit yung unang definition ng accounting. It is a service activity. Its function is to provide quantitative information, primarily financial in nature, about economic entities that is intended to be useful in making economic decisions. So, yan lang yung definition ng accounting. So, meron ngang joke dyan eh. So, ano daw yung difference ng counting sa accounting. So, pag sinabi natin counting, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yun yung counting. Pag sinabi naman natin accounting, so, 1, 2, 3, 4. O, diba corny? So, yun yung joke dun. Okay. Yung pangalawa naman ay merchandising. So, merchandising companies, these businesses are engaged in the buying and selling of goods. So, pag sinabi nating merchandising, ano naman sila? Buy and sell naman sila. So, ibig sabihin, bibili nila, tapos ibebenta lang din nila as is. So, example naman ng mga yan, ng merchandising, sari-sari store. So, di ba pag may sari-sari store ka, bibili ka ng product sa palengke, tapos ibebenta mo din siya as is. So, ibig sabihin, merchandising yun. So, buy and sell. Ano pa? Mga grocery stores, supermarket, drugstore, yung mga butika, bibili lang sila ng gamot, tapos ibebenta lang din nila as is kung ano yung binili nila. So, ang tawag doon ay merchandising companies. So, yung pangatlo naman ay manufacturing. So, pag sinabi naman nating manufacturing, so, these companies involved in the conversion of raw materials into finished products and sell it to other companies or customers. So, pag manufacturing, ibig sabihin, ikaw mismo yung gumawa ng product. From raw materials, i-convert mo into final product or finished product. Okay? So, ano yung mga example naman yan? Yung mismo sila yung gumawa ng product. For example, yung mga manufacturing companies na katulad na Procter and Gamble. Sila yung mga gumagawa mismo ng shampoo, ng toothpaste, mga sabon. So, ibig sabihin, from raw materials, i-convert nila into final product or into finished product. So, yun yung manufacturing companies. So, ano pa? Toyota, sila yung mismong gumagawa ng sasakyan. So, Kawasaki, Isuzu, so sila mismo yung gumagawa ng sasakyan. So, ang tawag sa kanila ay manufacturing company. Okay? So, pag service companies, ito yung mga nagre-render ng service. So, kapag naman sinabi nating merchandising, ito naman ay buy and sell. Okay, bibenta mo, ay bibili mo, tapos ibebenta mo. Pag manufacturing naman, from raw materials, i-convert mo into final or finished product. Next is legal forms of business organization. So, pagdating sa legal forms of business organization, kinaklasify naman natin yung business according dun sa structure ng ownership. Okay? So, business could be organized according to the structure of ownership. So, there are 3 legal forms of business organization. So, yung una ay sole proprietorships. Okay. Yung pangalawa ay partnership. And yung pangatlo naman ay corporation. Okay. So, since 3 units lang yung basic accounting, ang madidiscuss lang natin dyan ay yung sole proprietorship. Okay. Yung partnership and corporation, hindi na natin yan matatakel. So, pag sinabi nating sole proprietorship, it is a business entity owned by one person. So, ang owner niya, isa lang yung owner. Okay, isa lang yung may-ari. So, owned by one person called a sole proprietor. So, ang tawag sa kanya ay sole proprietor. Okay. So often, the owner acts as the manager and assumes all the responsibilities in the business. So since siya yung isa lang yung may-ari, so lahat ng responsibilities and lahat ng dapat gagawin ay si owner yung gagawa. So the sole proprietor is entitled to all profits, absorbs all losses and debts of the entity. So kapag nagkaroon ng profit, so mapupunta yun lahat kay proprietor. Pag nalugi naman, siya yung mag-a-absorb ng lugi, and kapag nagkaroon ng liability or debts, ay siya din ang magbabayad, siya din ang magsesettle. So if the business becomes insolvent, the creditors can force the owner to sell his or her personal assets to pay the business debts. So yan naman yung disadvantage kapag sole proprietorship, and meron tayong tinatawag na unlimited liability. So kapag kunyari nag-insolvent, kunyari nalugi, magsasarado na yung business at isa lang yung owner, so yung creditor, pwede niyang sabihin na kuhanin yung personal asset or kaya ibenta yung personal asset para mabayaran yung liability sa kanya. So usually, ito yung mga small businesses. Okay, so example, small retail stores, sari-sari store, service establishments, like beauty parlor, professionals owned by a single person. Okay, so yun yung sole proprietorship. Pagdating sa partnership naman, so pag sinabi natin partnership, it is a business owned by two or more. So two or more yung owner. So two or more persons called partners. So ang tawag naman sa kanila ay partners. Okay. So, who willingly to contribute money, property, or services to the business and divide profits or losses that may be derived therefrom. So, kung nyari ay meron kang kaibigan, sabi mo, tayo ng partnership. So, dalawa yung may-ari o higit pa, ang tawag doon ay partnership. So, ang tawag doon sa owner ay partners. So, syempre, ano yung mga advantages and disadvantages kapag partnership? So, syempre, kapag nagkaroon ng profit, so, paghahatian ninyo ng mga partners. So, depende kung ano yung magiging agreement. So, pag nagkaroon naman ng lugi, nagkaroon ng loss, so, lahat kayo ay mag-absorb. Okay? So, pagdating sa responsibilities, so, depende kung ano yung magiging agreement. Pwedeng ikaw or kaya yung kapartner mo or kaya joint yung management ng partnership. Okay? So, pag corporation naman, the only type of business organization recognized under the operation of the law. So, ownership of corporation is divided into shares of stock and the owners are called shareholders or stockholders. So, pag corporation, dati, kapag corporation, meron tayong requirement na 5 but not exceeding 15 person. Exceeding 15 person yung mga incorporators. Pag sinabi nating incorporators, sila yung founder ng incorporators, sila yung founder ng corporation. So at least dapat 5 yung magtatayo ng corporation. But ngayon may bagong law, kahit isa lang, pwede nang magtayo ng corporation and tinanggal na rin yung limit na 5 but not exceeding 15. So, if ever na meron kayo makita na question na 5 but not exceeding 15 yung incorporators, so, ibig sabihin, old law yun. So, luma yun. Ang bago ngayon ay tinanggal na yung minimum na number of incorporators. So, kahit isa lang din, pwedeng magtayo ng corporation. Okay. So, pagdating sa corporation, ang ownership ay through stocks or shares. So, bibili kayo ng share or kaya ng stock. So, ang tawag dun sa owner, pag nagkaroon ka ng share or stock sa isang corporation, ang tawag sa iyo ay shareholder. Okay, or stockholder. So, syempre may mga advantages and disadvantages sila. So, pag corporation, kung mas marami yung stockholders, so mas malaki yung capital nila in terms, malaki yung capital nila compare kay sole proprietorship and partnership. So, sa corporation din, ang management ay centralized. So, pwedeng shareholder ka or stockholder ka, pero hindi ka kasama doon sa mga manage. Okay? So, pagdating sa profit naman, pag nagkaroon ng profit, so, ang tawag sa profit ng mga shareholders and stockholders ay dividends, yung profit na nare-receive nila. But hindi naman automatic na mayroong profit yung corporation, mayroong dividends na marireceive yung shareholder o yung stockholder. Pagdating sa liability, ang corporation ay limited liability. So, ibig sabihin kapag nagkaroon ng liability yung corporation at magsasarado na yung corporation or insolvent na, so, hindi pwedeng puntahan ni creditor si stockholder katulad ng sa partnership and sole proprietorship na pwede kahit yung personal asset or kaya yung personal asset nung owner ay pwedeng ibayad sa creditor. So, limited yung liability. Okay. So, ang madidiscuss lang natin ngayon sa basic accounting ay sole proprietorship. Yung partnership and corporation, wala na. So, basta pag type of business organization, so tatlo pa rin, service, merchandising, and manufacturing. So, kapag legal forms naman, sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. So, basta ang tatandaan nyo lang pag type of business, so, kinaklasify yung business according dun sa activity na ini-engage nila. Kapag legal forms naman, so, kinaklasify yung business according dun sa structure ng business kung ilan yung owner. So, kaya pag type of business, so, service, merchandising, and manufacturing. Pag legal forms, sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. Pwede natin i-classify sila sa type ng business or kaya sa legal form. So, for example, sari-sari store, pag kinlassify natin yan according dun sa type ng business, so kung ano yung activity na ini-engage niya, so ito ay merchandising. Kasi di ba pag sinabi natin merchandising, buy and sell. So, pag kinlassify naman natin siya according dun sa form, so, legal form. So, kung isa lang yung owner, so, ang sari-sari store ay sole proprietorship. Okay. So, another example, kunwari ay beauty parlor. So, ang beauty parlor ay pag kinlassify natin according sa type ng business, ito ay service. So, let's say ang beauty parlor ay dalawa yung owner. So, pag kinlassify natin dyan sa legal form, siya ay partnership. Okay, so ganun lang siya. So, pwede nyo siyang i-classify according dun sa type or sa legal form. Okay. So, users of accounting information naman. So, pagdating sa users of accounting information, So, there are 8 users. So, tandaan nyo na lang sino yung mga users ng accounting information. So, yung una ay owners. Okay, pangalawa ay prospective investors. Third, employees. Number 4, lenders. 5, creditors. 6, suppliers. 7 ay government agencies like BIR, and yung last ay public. Okay. So, yung users of accounting information, owners, prospective investors, employees, lenders, creditors, suppliers, government agencies, and public. Next is basic accounting concepts and principles. So, accounting practices follow certain rules and guidelines. So, the rules that govern how accountants measure, record, process, and communicate financial information are called Generally Accepted Accounting Principles or GAAP. So, pag sinabi natin GAAP, so GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Okay. So, syempre, dapat mayroong rules and guidelines dahil madaming users yung accounting information. So, syempre, iba-iba yung users natin. So, kailangan mayroong rules para hindi magkagulo. So, next is yung basic concepts. So, there are 3 basic concepts. So, meron tayong entity concept. Okay. So, pag sinabi natin entity concept, the business entity is treated as separate economic entity. So, hence, only the business firm's transaction should be recorded and reported. So, therefore, a business must keep its own record from the point of view of a business and not to be combined with the personal transactions of the owners. So, pag sinabi natin entity concept, so, nakaseparate yung records ng personal dun sa business. So, example, a laundry shop owner purchase a computer for personal use. So, this will not affect the records of the laundry shop kasi yung computer gagamitin niya for his personal use, hindi dun sa business. So, but if the computer is purchased by the owner for use in the company, then this will be reflected in the records of the company. So, kung para yan sa business, so yun lang yung magre-reflect dapat sa record ng entity or nung company. Ang tawag doon ay entity concept. So, hindi pwedeng pag-combinein, hindi pwedeng pagsamahin yung personal doon sa business. Okay? So, yung pangalawa, meron tayong tinatawag na periodicity concept. So, periodicity concept. So, kapag sinabi natin periodicity concept or accounting period, so, pag periodicity concept, this assumption states that accountants divide the economic life of the business into periods of time, such as monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually in order to achieve comparability of the financial reports. So, therefore, in preparing financial reports, it is important to show the date when it was prepared and the time period it covers. So, yun yung tinatawag natin periodicity concept. So, dapat merong periods. Yung period, divided, pwedeng monthly, or quarterly, semi-annual, or annually. So, pag sinabi natin monthly, kada buwan. Pag quarterly, maraming nagkakamali sa quarterly. Pag sinabi natin quarterly, every 3 months. So, quarter, yung ibig sabihin ng quarter na 4 times a year. So, kaya every 3 months pag sinabi natin quarterly. Pag semi-annually, every 6 months. So, twice a year. And pag sinabing annually, so ibig sabihin in yearly or every year. So, example, meron tayong accounting period. Sabi, accounting period starts on January 1, 2020, let's say, ang start natin ay January 1, 2020, and ends on December 31, 2020. So, pag ganyan, ang tawag dyan ay calendar year. So, calendar year. Bakit calendar year? Siyempre, yung kalendaryo natin nagsisimula sa January 1, magtatapos ng December 31. So, 12-month period starts on January 1 to December 31. So, meron din naman tayong tinatawag na fiscal year. Pag fiscal year naman, also 12-month period but starts from any month other than January. So, 12 months din, pero mag-start siya kahit anong month except for January. So, basta mag-end din siya ng 12 months. So, for example, let's say, mag-start tayo ng September 1, 2020. So, mag-end naman siya ng August 31, 2021. So, ito, tawag dito ay fiscal year. So, 12 months pa rin yan. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So, 12 months pa rin. So, basta ang start niya ay hindi January, any month. Pwedeng kunyari, February 1, 2020 to January 31, 2021. So, ang tawag doon ay fiscal year. So, dapat meron tayong accounting period. So, nahati dun sa period natin sa 12 months. So, parang ano lang yan, yung monthsary lang ninyo. Diba? Nung mag-girlfriend or mag-boyfriend. So, meron tayong anniversary o monthsary, kaya weeksary. So, para pag naggawa ng reports, pagdating sa accounting, so ayos yung period according dun sa calendar or kaya sa fiscal year. Okay? So, yung sumunod ay stable monetary concept. So, stable monetary concept. Unit concept. Okay. Pag sinabi naman natin stable monetary unit concept sa accounting, so business transaction must be recorded and reported in terms of money. So the monetary unit in Philippines is peso. So kaya pag yung report natin, yung financial report natin ay sa peso. Okay? So yung monetary unit natin ay peso. So if the company has foreign currency on hand, it should be converted into Philippine peso based on the exchange rate at the date of balance sheet date. So in accounting, peso is stable or constant regardless of inflation or deflation. Kasi pag tinignan natin, yung peso naman natin, yung pera natin, hindi naman siya stable. Diba? Kunyari ngayon, pag tinignan mo kung magkano yung piso natin versus sa dollar, let's say $1 ay 50 pesos. Yung exchange rate niya. But kinabukasan, yung $1 magiging 48. Pwedeng bumaba, pwedeng tumaas. Hindi siya stable. Pero pagdating sa accounting, dapat daw stable. So, hindi siya naapektuhan ng inflation or deflation. So, for example, if the company bought machinery for 100,000, binili niya yung machine ng 100,000, let's say January 1, 2017. So, ang machine, pagdating ng reporting, pagdating sa December 31, let's say, yun yung balance sheet date natin, January 31, 2017, naka-reflect yung machine at 100,000 pa rin. Okay, yung cost niya. So, syempre, merong depreciation yan. So, yung depreciation, madidiscuss natin yan sa adjusting entries. So, let's say, yung report natin ngayon, December 31, 2020, ang machine na magre-reflect pa rin, still 100,000 na. 1,000 pa din. Kahit nasabi mo, ma'am, yung machine po ngayon na yun, binili mo noong 2017, ang value niya lang niya ay 70,000. So, pero pagdating sa atin, sa financial report natin, so magre-reflect pa rin siya at 100,000. So, stable monetary unit concept. So, kapag naman kapag naman yung company merong cash on hand in a foreign currency, so ang gagawin naman natin doon ay i-convert siya into peso. So, yung exchange rate niya, kung kailan ginawa or gagawin, pinrepair yung report. So, for example, the company bought machinery for $1,000. So, kunyari, binili niya at $1,000 yung machinery. So, at the date of purchase, the exchange rate of peso to US dollar is 60 pesos. So, yung exchange rate niya ay 60. So, in this case, the accountant should record the machinery at 600,000 and not at $1,000. So, after 1 year, the exchange rate becomes 70. The new exchange rate should not be recognized. So, the increase or decrease in exchange rate is not recorded to adjust the initial cost of the machinery. So, dito kung kailan natin binili yung machine, so $1,000 nung date of acquisition natin ay ang peso rate natin ay 60 pesos. So, ang machinery should be recorded at 600,000. So, after a year, yung exchange rate niya naging 70 or kaya bumaba, let's say naging 50 or kaya 40. So, hindi mo i-recognize yung increase or decrease ng exchange rate kasi meron tayong tinatawag na stable monetary unit concept. So, it should be reflected pa rin at 600,000 yung machinery. Yung basic concept. So, entity concept, periodicity concept, and stable monetary unit concept. So, yung sunod naman ay basic principles. So, sa basic principles, meron naman tayong 7 basic principles. So, pag tinignan niyo yung enumeration natin, pwede. So, nakakatatlo na kayo ng types of business, then 3 legal forms, tapos ngayon 3 basic concepts, and yung basic principles naman ay 7. So, accounting practices follow certain guidelines, and the set of guidelines and procedures that constitute acceptable accounting practice at a given time is GAAP. So, which stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. So, yung first basic principle natin ay objectivity. So, objectivity. So, objectivity, accounting records and statements are based on the most reliable data available so that they will be as accurate and as useful as possible. So, syempre, dapat kapag objective, dapat ang data ay reliable. Okay? So, reliable data are verifiable when they can be confirmed by independent observers. So, para masabi nating reliable yan, dapat verifiable siya. So, mache-check siya kung yun nga yung correct or yung accurate ba yung information. So, ideally, accounting records are based on information that flows from activities documented by objective evidence. So, dapat may evidence. So, usually, yung mga evidences yung mga source documents like receipts, kailangan purchase order. So, yun yung mga evidences. So, sa accounting dapat daw ay objective, reliable yung information. Next ay historical cost. So, pag sinabi natin historical cost naman, this principle states that acquired assets should be recorded at their actual cost. So, kung magkano mo siya pinili. And not at what management thinks they are worth as at reporting date. So, for example, bumili ka ng, let's say, equipment or kaya computer, binili mo siya ng 60,000. So, yun yung binayad mo talaga dun sa seller, 60,000. Tapos, pagpunta mo sa company, pagbalik mo sa company, sabi nila, ay, yung 60,000 na yan, pag binili mo yun sa kabilang store, 55,000 lang. So, but pagdating sa atin, sa accounting, so kailangan i-record siya at historical cost, yung actual cost kung magkano mo siya binili. So, kung binayaran mo siya at 60,000, so it should be reflected at 60,000. Recorded siya at 60,000. Yung pangatlo naman, revenue recognition principle. Okay. So, ito, revenue recognition principle. So, yung mga ABM ng senior high, so, ito, familiar na kung ano yung revenue. So, pag sinabi nating revenue, ang revenue, magkaiba sa profit. Okay. So, ang revenue or income, pareho sila. Ang profit at net income, pareho sila. Okay. So, ano yung revenue? So, ano yung profit? Pag sinabi natin revenue, for example, meron tayong sari-sari store. So, nagtitinda tayo ng sardinas. So, yung sardinas, binili natin sa kanya, binili natin sa palengke, ang cost niya 10 pesos. So, ang tawag doon cost, kung magkano mo siya binili. So, yung 10 pesos na sardinas, ibebenta mo siya ngayon. So, ang selling price niya, let's say, ibebenta mo siya ng 15 pesos. Okay, so, ibebenta mo ng 15 pesos. So, kunyari may bumili na, nakabili ng 2 sardinas. So, ang ibabayad sa'yo ay 30 pesos for 2 sardinas. So, itong 30 pesos, ang tawag dito, yun yung revenue. Okay, revenue or income. So, ang tawag ay revenue. Yung 30 pesos kung magkano mo siya binenta. Okay. So, but yung 30 pesos na yan, binili mo yan sa palengke ng 10 pesos isa. So, ibig sabihin, yung puhunan mo, 10 piso. So, ang puhunan mo sa 2 sardinas ay 20 pesos. So, ibig sabihin, nung nakabenta ka ng 30 pesos, meron kang 10 pesos na profit. Ito yung kita or net income. Okay, so pag sinabi nating revenue, pareho siya sa income or pwede rin pareho rin siya sa sales. Okay. So sales, kapag ang type ng business natin ay merchandising and manufacturing. So kapag service, so ginagamit yung term na revenue or kaya ay income. Service revenue or service income. So, kung magkano mo siya binenta, ang tawag doon, revenue or sales. Kung magkano yung kinita mo, yun yung profit or net income. Okay? So, dapat alam yung term. So, yung revenue, kung magkano mo siya naibenta, at yung profit, kung magkano yung kinita mo. Okay? So, pag sinabi natin revenue recognition principle, revenue is to be recognized in the accounting period when goods are delivered or services are rendered or performed. Okay, so dapat alam niyo yung revenue ulit. Okay, yung revenue or sales or income. So, kung yun yung amount, kung magkano natin siya naibenta. So, ang tanong dyan, kailan natin i-recognize or i-record yung revenue? So, sabi dyan, revenue is to be recognized in the accounting period when goods are delivered. So, goods are delivered. Or, services are rendered or performed. Okay, so, ano ulit? Kapag sinabi natin revenue recognition, so we have to recognize revenue when goods are delivered or services are rendered or performed. So, parang dito, sa example ko kanina sa sardinas, ang tanong, kailan natin siya i-recognize yung 30 pesos? Kung kailan natin i-record as revenue yung 30 pesos. So, kapag goods, kung kailan siya na-deliver. Kapag service, kung kailan siya na-render or na-perform. Okay? So, for example, kunyari, yung 30 pesos natin na sardinas, na bumili yung customer natin na 30 pesos. Let's say, bumili siya na October 1, 2020. So, ng sardinas, 30 pesos. Kaya lang sabi niya, kaya lang wala pa akong trabaho. Pwede ba yung sardinas na 30 pesos, bayaran ko na lang on January 1, 2021. So, kailan magkakaroon ng payment? Ang payment, babayaran ni buyer, ni customer, yung 30 pesos on January 1, 2021. But, kailan niya kinuha yung sardinas? October 1, 2020. So, ang tanong, kailan natin i-record yung 30 pesos as sales or revenue? So, ito, kailan natin siya i-record yung 30 as revenue? So, ang question, kailan natin siya i-record as revenue? Ano sabi niya sa revenue recognition principle? Revenue should recorded or recognized when goods are delivered or services are rendered or performed. So, kailan natin i-recognize yung revenue? October 1, kung kailan kinuha ni customer or dineliver yung goods kay customer, or kung kailan nagbayad or magbabayad si customer. So, pag sinabi nating revenue recognition, revenue should be recognized when goods are delivered. So, kailan ba natin na ibigay yung goods kay customer? So, October 1, 2020. So, it means, ang recording ng revenue ay dapat ay 2020. Hindi sa 2021. So, regardless kung nagbayad or hindi nagbayad siya, basta na i-deliver mo yung goods, dun mo kailangan i-recognize as revenue. Okay? So, what if, balik na rin naman natin, what if, October 1, 2020, sabi niya, let's say service naman. Ito kasi merchandising eh. So, let's say, beauty parlor tayo. Salon, mayroong magpapariban. So, ang riban ay 5,000. Kunwari lang. So, sabi nung client natin, nung customer, pwede ba i-reband mo ko? I-reband mo ko. Kaya lang, i-reband mo ko on January 1, 2021. So, ito service to. So, i-reband siya on January 1, 2021. Pero sabi niya, baka magastos ko yung pera. Pwede ba? Bayaran ko na siya. So, yung 5,000, babayaran na siya ngayon, October 1, 2020. So, kung October 1, 2020, nagbayad na agad sa atin in advance yung customer. Pero kailan pa tayo magre-render na service? Kailan pa natin siya i-reban? January 1, 2021. So, ang tanong, itong 5,000 recorded to us service income or service revenue. Okay, service income or service revenue. So, ang tanong, kailan natin i-recognize yung service income or service revenue na 5,000? So, 2020 ba or 2021? So, ang payment ay 2020. Pero, kailan ka magre-render ng service? Ito, magre-render ka ng service on January 2021. Ano sabi natin pag revenue recognition? Revenue should be recorded or recognized when goods are delivered or services are rendered or performed. So, kailan natin siya i-record as service revenue or service income? Kung kailan ka naka-render ng service. So, kailan ka naka-render ng service? Kailan ka magre-render ng service? January 1, 2021. So, dito yung mo i-record as revenue. Hindi sa October 1, 2020. Kasi yung October 1, 2020, nagbayad lang siya. Pero hindi ka pa nag-render ng service. So, basta ang tatandaan ninyo, yung revenue, kung kailan mo siya i-recognize, kung kailan ka naka-deliver ng goods, or kung kailan ka naka-render ng service. So, regardless naka-receive ka, or regardless kung kailan ka naka-receive ng payment. So, ang titingnan mo kung kailan ka naka-deliver ng goods or kaya naka-render ng services. So, dito, nag-render ka ng service, kailan ka magre-render ng service? January 1, 2021. So, dito pa lang ikaw magre-recognize ng revenue. Ma'am, no October 1, 2020, naka-receive ka ng cash. Binayaran ka agad ng customer pero hindi ka pa nagre-render ng service. So, itong October 1, 2020 na to, yung 5,000 na yan, i-record mo yan, but hindi service income, but as liability. So, utang mo kay customer. Okay? So, yung 5,000 na yan, recorded as liability. Sa point of view ni entity, ni company, ni beauty parlor, yung salon. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, since naka-receive siya in advance ng 5,000 pero hindi pa siya nag-render na service, so, i-record niya yun as liability. Okay? So, ang tawag doon, unearned revenue. So, madidiscuss naman natin siya sa adjusting entry. Okay? So, basta, pag revenue recognition, kung kailan siya nag-render na service, doon magre-recognize ng revenue. Kung kailan ka nag-deliver ng goods, doon ka magre-recognize ng revenue. Okay? Regardless kung kailan ka naka-receive ng cash. Okay? Or kaya ng payment doon sa customer. Next is expense recognition principle naman. So, expense recognition principle. So, para lang din siyang revenue recognition, kaya lang ang pinag-uusapan natin kabaliktaran, expense. Okay, so pag sinabi natin expense recognition principle, so expenses should be recognized in the accounting period in which goods and services are used up. So goods or services, goods and services are used up. Kung kailan natin siya nagamit. So, are used up to produce revenue and not when the entity pays for those goods and services. So, dito, magre-recognize ka ng expense kung kailan mo siya nagamit, kung kailan mo siya napakinabangan, hindi kung kailan mo siya binayaran. Okay? So, kabaliktaran ng revenue. Revenue kasi kanina, ikaw yung seller. So, let's say merchandising, sari-sari store, sabi natin kung kailan mo siya naibenta. Okay? So, pagdating doon sa expense recognition, baliktad. Point of view naman ni buyer. Kung ikaw naman yung bumili. Kailan mo siya i-record as expense? Kapag kung kailan mo siya nagamit. Okay? So, for example, basta pag nag-analyze, lagi lang yung tatandaan sa point of view ng company. Okay? Si company kasi, pwede siyang maging seller ngayon, tapos mamaya, buyer naman siya. Okay? So, titingnan ninyo kung sino siya. Si seller ba siya or si buyer. Basta ang point of view lagi ay kay entity, kung ano yung kay company. So, ano yung point of view ni company. Okay? So, for example, yung parlor natin, mag-hire tayo ng guard. Okay? So, kailangan natin ng gwardiya. Sabi natin yung gwardiya, babayaran natin 10,000 a month. So, ang sweldo niya ay 10,000 a month. So, sweldo niya is 10,000. Okay? So, sabi natin, kinausap natin yung guard. Sabi natin, kuya, yung salary mo, yung sweldo mo, 10,000 kada buwan. Kaya lang, mag-start ka na mag-guard ay January 1, 2021. So, kailan pa siya magsisimula? January 1, 2021. Kaya lang, sabi ni guard, ma'am, pwede po bang makabali na? Pwede ba yung susweldohin ko, yung unang buwan na sweldo ko na 10,000, ibabalihin ko na ngayon. Kunyari, October 1, 2020. So, ibig sabihin, itong 10,000 na to, binayad na natin. Nagbayad na tayo ng 10,000 kay guard ng 10,000 October 1 pa lang. Pero kailan daw siya mag-start na mag-render na service? So, mag-start siya January 1, 2021. So, itong 10,000 na to, ang tawag natin dyan, salary expense. Okay. So, kaya lang, para masabi natin siya ay expense kapag nagamit na siya. Okay. So, para ma-recognize na siya as expense, dapat nagamit na. Yung goods or services ay nagamit na. Okay. So, ang tanong, kailan natin i-record yung expense, salary expense na 10,000? Kung kailan ka ba nagbayad, October 1, or kung kailan siya nag-render ng service. So, kailan natin siya i-record as salary expense? Anong sabi natin sa expense recognition principle? Expenses should be recognized in the accounting period in which goods and services are used up to produce revenue, and not when the entity pays for those goods and services. So, kung kailan doon natin nagamit, hindi kung kailan lang tayo nagbayad. So, dyan, kailan natin siya, kailan magre-render ng service si guard, yung guard natin. Kailan siya magre-render ng service, kailan natin siya magagamit? January 1, 2021. Pero kailan ka na nagbayad? Binayaran agad natin siya ng October 1, 2020. So, kailan natin siya i-recognize sa salary expense? It should be recognized on January 1, 2021. Kung kailan nagamit yung service or kung kailan nagamit yung goods. Sabi niya, expense recognition principle should be recognized when goods and services are used up, and not when the entity pays for those goods and services. Hindi kung kailan ka nagbayad. So, kailan mo siya nagamit. So, doon natin siya i-recognize as expense. Okay? So, kailan siya i-recognize as expense? Kung kailan siya nagamit. So, nagamit siya, magagamit natin siya on January 1, 2021. So, 2021 pa natin siya mare-recognize as expense. Siyempre kung monthly yan, January 31, 2021 kasi isang buwan. Okay? So, ganun yung expense recognition principle. So, what if baliktarin naman natin? Okay, baliktarin natin. Sabi natin, October 1, 2020, magre-render na siya ng service. Render na siya ng service. Pero sabi lang naman natin, let's say monthly yung report natin, bayaran natin siya. Magre-render na siya ng service, pero babayaran naman natin siya January 2021. So, ito, doon pa lang tayo magbabayad ng 10,000. January 2021. So, ang tanong naman dito, kailan natin siya i-recognize as expense yung 10,000? 2020 or 2021? Okay. So, kailan ka magre-render ng service? Kailan magre-render ng service yung guard? 2020. Pero babayaran natin siya ng 2021. So, ang tanong, kailan i-recognize yung salaries expense na 10,000? So, ano sabi natin? Expense recognition principle, expenses should be recognized. Expenses should be recognized or reported when goods and services are used up, and not when the entity pays for those goods and services. So, kung kailan siya nag-render na service or kung kailan nag-deliver na nagamit yung goods. So, kailan nag-render ng service si guard? October 2020. Kailan natin siya babayaran ng 10,000? January 2021. So, kailan natin i-record as expenses 10,000? So, it should be recorded on October 2020. Okay, kasi sabi natin kung kailan siya nagamit at hindi kung kailan mo siya binayaran. So, basta ang tatandaan pag expense recognition principle, kung kailan nagamit yung goods or yung services para makapag-produce ng revenue. Pag revenue recognition principle naman, kung kailan na render yung service or kung kailan mo na deliver yung goods, doon i-recognize yung revenue. So, next ay, so number 5, materiality. So, materiality. So, pag sinabi natin materiality, so, dito, sabi siya, financial reporting is only concerned with information that is significant enough to affect evaluations and decisions. So, para masabi natin siyang material, so, significant siya dapat. Significant enough na maapektuhan daw yung decisions. Okay? So, affect evaluations and decisions. So, pag sinabi natin siyang material, so, significant enough to affect evaluations and decisions. So, sa atin, yung materiality depende sa size and nature of the item judged in the particular circumstances of its omission. So, pwede kasing sa'yo material, sa akin, hindi material. Kumbaga, mahalaga. So, kapag na-omit siya, malaki yung effect niya. So, pwedeng sa akin, since maliit lang yung business ko, say sari-sari store, so yung 100 pesos, material na sa akin. So, pag nawala ng 100 pesos, so malaki na yung effect niya sa akin. Pero, kunyari ko ikaw ay supermarket, so yung 100 sa'yo, pwede nating sabihin nating immaterial. So, pwedeng hindi na material sa'yo. So, depende sa size and nature ng item na gina-judge natin in a particular circumstances of its omission. So, yun yung materiality. So, ulitin natin yung basic concept. So, una is objectivity. Second is historical cause. Third, revenue recognition. And fourth, expense recognition principle. And yung 5 ay materiality. And yung number 6 ay consistency. So, consistency. So, pag sinabi natin consistency, the firms should use the same accounting method from period to period to achieve comparability over time within a single enterprise. However, changes are permitted if justifiable and disclosed in the financial statements. So, dapat daw consistent para ma-achieve yung comparability. So, for example, let's say, sa valuation ng inventory, so ang ginamit natin ay FIFO, o yung first in, first out. So, ibig sabihin, the following year, ang gagamitin pa rin natin ay FIFO. So, susunod is FIFO pa rin, so para ma-compare natin. But sabi dyan, changes are permitted if justifiable and disclosed in the financial statement. So, pwede naman, after a year, nag-change ka, naging naging average method. So, pwede naman yon. So, pwede naman magkaroon ng changes. Basta i-justify mo lang and i-disclose mo lang sa financial statements. Pero hindi pwedeng, kunyari, FIFO ngayong year, the following year ay average, sumunod ay FIFO ulit, tapos average. So, hindi na yun magiging consistent, hindi na yun mako-compare. So, yun yung consistency. And yung last ay adequate disclosure. So, adequate disclosure requires that all relevant information that would affect the user's understanding and assessment of the accounting entity be disclosed in the financial statement. So, dapat nakalagay lahat ng information na makaka-affect sa understanding and assessment ng users natin ng financial statement. So, dapat naka-disclose doon. So, mayroon naman tayong tinatawag notes to financial statements kung hindi mailalagay sa income statement and sa balance sheet. So, i-disclose mo dun sa notes to financial statements. So, example, yung mga methods na ginagamit, so, nilalagay dun sa notes to financial statement. Okay, so, adequate disclosure. So, 7 yan. 7 yung basic principles natin. Yung una ay objectivity, historical cost, revenue recognition, expense recognition, materiality, consistency, and adequate disclosure. Next is qualitative characteristics of financial statements. So, merong 4 qualitative characteristics. So, yung una, reliability. Okay. So, reliability, information has the quality of reliability when it is free from material error and bias and can be depended upon by users to represent faithfully that what it either purports to represent or could reasonably be expected to represent. So, kanina, nasabi din naman natin na reliable yung dun sa basic principle na objectivity. So, pag objectivity, dapat objective, dapat reliable. So, dapat reliable. So, ito, reliability. So, it is free from material error and bias. So, dapat kung ano yung actual or yung totoo, so, yun yung i-record natin. So, yung i-report natin. Okay, so, free from material error and bias. So, dapat reliable. So, para masabi natin reliable, sabi natin, dapat siya ay verifiable. So, kung verifiable, so dapat may mga evidences tayo. So, yung evidences, yun yung mga source documents natin. So, hindi tayo basta nagre-record kung walang evidence. So, kung walang supporting documents. Okay? So, reliability. Next is relevance. So, relevance. Ito, yung relevance and reliability, it refers to the content of the financial statement. Ano yung laman ng financial statement? Dapat reliable, dapat relevant. Okay? So, to be useful, information must be relevant to the decision-making needs of users. So, information has the quality of relevance when it influences the economic decisions of users by helping them evaluate past, present, future events or confirming or correcting their past evaluation. So, dapat daw ay relevant. Para masabi nating relevant siya, so, ang sabi natin ay pwede ma-influensyahan yung decision or yung assessment natin. So, dapat ay relevant yung information. Relevant. Okay. Next ay understandability. So, understandability. And yung pang-apat ay comparability. Itong third and fourth, it refers to the presentation ng financial statements. So, understandability, an essential quality of the information provided in financial statements is that it is readily understandable by users. So, dapat maintindihan ng users. So, but users are assumed to have a reasonable knowledge of accounting business and its economic activities. So, dapat naiintindihan ng mga users. So, pero assume natin na yung mga users natin ay mayroong basic knowledge ng accounting. Okay? So, kaya pagdating sa financial statement, hindi tayo dapat mag-abbreviate yung pinaiksi. So, dapat nakabuo siya. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng users alam kung pag in-abbreviate mo yung isang kunyari, FIFO. So, kailangan ilagay mo doon first in, first out. Okay. So, next is comparability. Users must be able to compare the financial statements of an enterprise over time in order to identify trends in its financial position and performance. So, comparable dapat. So, pag tinignan nyo yung financial statements natin, hindi lang yung current year nakalagay doon, pati yung prior year or kaya minsan pati yung budget the following year or budget this year naka-include din. So, hindi lang isang taon. So, dapat daw ay comparable. Okay? So, merong comparability. So, meron tayong 4 na qualitative characteristics. So, una ay reliability. Second, relevance. Third, understandability. And fourth ay comparability. So, kung lang yan, kung enumeration, medyo madami-dami nyo na yung kailangan yung i-memorize. So, mula nung unang types of businesses, 3. Tapos, legal forms, 3. Basic concept, 3. Tapos, users of accounting information, 7. 8. Tapos, ay basic principles, 7. Tapos, 4 na qualitative characteristics. So, pag nagpa-assignment ako sa inyo or kaya nag-quiz ako, medyo sensitive kasi pag Google Forms, mamali ka lang ng capital or small letter. So, mamamali na. So, hindi niya na i-correct. So, para mas safe, siguro instead of Google Forms, meron pa isa doon na format na parang pang-essay. So, i-check ko na lang doon para mas hindi kayo mahirapan. Misa kasi tama na mali lang ng capital or kaya small. So, minamali na agad ni Google. So, para mas madali, pwede naman nating hindi ko ilagay sa forms dun sa isa. Hindi ko lang maalala kung ano tawag dun basta yung nasa unahan. Okay. Yung last natin for this chapter ay elements of financial statements. So, elements of financial statements. Okay, so there are 5 elements of financial statements. Asset, liabilities, okay. Pangatlo ay equity. Pang-apat ay income or revenue or sales. Pareho lang. And yung pang-lima ay expenses. Okay, so 5 elements of financial statements. Ito na yung mga terms na madidinig nyo hanggang dulo. So hanggang matapos yung SEM natin. Assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. So sa elements of financial statements, yung assets, liabilities, and equity, so makikita to sa financial position. Or ito yung tinatawag dati na balance sheet. Walang income or revenue or sales and expenses, makikita to sa income statement. Na ngayon, tawag din ay comprehensive income. So, income statement. Okay. So, assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. So, pag financial position, assets, liabilities, and equity. Pag income statement, income, and expenses. So, ito, i-discuss natin to sa susunod na chapter. So, isa-isahin natin ano yung assets, ano yung liabilities, ano yung equity, so ano yung under ng income and expenses. So, sa ngayon, theory pa. Yung susunod na chapter, so, yun na yung may analyzation na ng transaction. Pero, unahin ko munang i-discuss yung susunod ay yung mga account titles. So, pinaka-importante kasi yun, dapat alam niyo yung account titles. Ano yung kasama sa assets, ano yung mga liabilities, ano yung equity, ano yung income and expenses. So, yung chapter 1 natin dito muna. So, theory part pa to. Ito yung pinaka medyo madali pa na kung tutuusin, kung face-to-face lang, memorization lang. Yung susunod, yun yung mas, hindi yung mas importante, but kailangan mas maintindihan ninyo. So, mas detail yung discussion natin kasi doon na tayo magsisimula sa account titles. Okay, dyan sa elements of financial statements. Madali lang na mag-journal kung naalala nyo yung recording ng transactions. Kung una, alam mo dapat yung mga account titles na gagamitin. So, ano yung nature niya? So, ano yung ibig sabihin ng account titles na yun at kung kailan siya gagamitin. Okay? So, dito muna yung chapter 1. So, yung chapter 2, susunod na discussion na lang. So, after nito, once na napanood nyo na yung video ng discussion natin, then pa lang tayo mag-Google Meet kung meron kayong question. So, kung merong hindi naintindihan or medyo malabo. So, kaya hindi ko muna kayo minute. So, video muna kasi sayang sa load. Kung yung mga walang wifi, kung naglo-load lang, kung data lang. So, sa haba ng discussion, mauubos yung pang-load. So, kaya may free video naman. Diba, pag may mga data, may free YouTube naman. So, kaya nag-video muna ako. So, yung Meet natin, Google Meet natin, so, i-schedule natin kung after ng discussion sa video, doon tayo mag-Google Meet para sa mga questions nyo. Kung mayroong gustong i-clarify or kung may hindi masyadong naintindihan. So, yun lang.